Game Pigeon, a fun little game between friends when we're bored off our ass and don't want to watch brain rot anymore. We send each other these fun little mini games. Your friend has been winning a little too many. I'm Wei, and in this video I'll teach you a few strategies to give you the upper hand. Some might call it cheating or unfun, but I simply call it winning. There are two types of games in Game Pigeon: competitive games and casual games. We'll go through the casual games first since those require less knowledge. Certain advantages will give you more of an edge, while competitive games like chess are too fair. So instead I'll give you some beginner insight for those competitive games, so you'll still be better than your clueless victim, I mean your friend. And in the end, I'll explain a sure win strategy for one of the games. Let's start with the classic 8-ball. Other than getting a real life ruler to measure your shots, why don't get a virtual ruler? So you can get this virtual ruler by taking a screenshot using the editing tool. Just be sure to not hit the ball too hard after measuring the shot, because it'll still bounce out. There's no need to find the perfect break, as it is random every time you hit it. I've tried it, trust me, I've tried it many times. It's the same thing with 9-ball. You just hit the balls in order instead of stripes and solids. Next we have battleship. There are two parts to battleship: placing the ship and shooting the ships. There's actually a computer optimized way of playing the shooting part, but I'll explain it in a way that a human can play. Battleship is usually played on a 10x10 grid with ships of all different kinds of sizes, but instead you want to challenge them to a 9x9, as in a 9x9 the smallest ship size is 3. This is because you'll be using a strategy. When the smallest ship is 3, you want to place your shots 2 spaces apart from each other, but not the diagonals. You still need to shoot the diagonals, because no ships can be placed diagonally. By doing this, you'll have a higher chance of winning. When all the 3 pieces ship are sunk and only the 4 pieces are left, you can move on to shoot 3 spaces apart instead, because by shooting with optimal spacing, you'll guarantee to move on faster. And obviously you want to sink the ship as fast as possible, but that part is really just guessing. This strategy doesn't work as well in 10x10s and 8x8s because the ship sizes are too small, as you start with 1. So it is a lot less effective. Also remember to not be obvious and reveal your strategy. So don't just keep shooting every 2 squares, because your opponent will catch on fairly quickly. For ship placements, it is best to play unpredictably. There's all kinds of strategies around, but it is only best in the long run to play randomly. You can use just the random that the computer generates for you, or you can specifically put all the ships in the middle, all towards one side, and one having like all the ships towards one side and one on the other side. Next is basketball. Now this one I might actually consider cheating, as you would pull up settings, turn on Smart Touch, and use the drag and click feature. This will ensure you always get a decent score with 100% accuracy when you tap the ball and then the hoop. But if your friend is extremely good at this game, they'll still be faster, unfortunately, because it takes more time for this to respond, but is way more consistent. I can get around 35 points every time for using this method. Darts. Similar to basketball, you can use the Smart Touch feature to guarantee hitting 20 by tapping on the center, and intentionally miss when you're close, or if you hit something else instead. You can use a Smart Touch feature to guarantee hitting 20 by tapping on the center, and then at the very end you have a 1, and you only need to hit the 1 to win, so you can win in 2 turns. You can also try to hit the bullseye, but I found that to be incredibly inconsistent. Also could be considered cheating, but hey, we're here to win. Now we're going into the more competitive category, and it is mostly a skill issue if you lose, because those games are a bit too balanced. As some of you might know, Connect 4 is actually a solved game, so let me briefly tell you what gives you an advantage. Starting first has the advantage, and you want to drop the first one in the very middle, as the middle part is the most valuable, as it has the most opportunity to connect. A human playing strategy is called the odd-even strategy. If you start first, you want to make sure you have 3 in a row in odd columns, if it's possible, with a empty column right next to it. This is so when the game is about to end at a draw and is played perfectly, the other player is forced to give you the win. And the opposite is true if you start second. You want even rows instead. After getting 3 horizontals on an empty column, you play defensively and you will win. Otherwise it's a draw. Or if you play unperfectly, you would still lose. Filler is an interesting one. You want to get as many color tiles as possible every time you switch colors. So in this game, the advantage you will have is by paying attention to what your opponent can switch to. If you switch to a color that blocks the most efficient way they want to advance, then you should probably pick that color. This is amazing because it denies them a turn to get the color they want because they can't switch to your color. And also try to cut them off on one side if you know you can reach it faster, as after you cut them off a portion, it is entirely yours. Archery. Other than knowing that the wind affects your arrows, of where the arrows would fly, this one might just be a skill issue. Placing the phone on the table would be better because you're not shaking. Cup pong. Now you would think that drag and drop feature from Smart Touch would work, but it doesn't. This one unfortunately might actually be a luck issue, as the cups shuffle in different areas every time, so you can't remember a specific shot either. On your Smart Touch feature, where you place your fingers at first also matters, as I found out. And you can use the Smart feature to memorize the swipes. It is extremely inconsistent and you have to place it exactly on the ball. So don't play cup pong. It's too fair. It's also very luck based. Actually, it's pretty skill based if you actually learn everywhere you can touch. So yeah, don't play it. Word games. The best strategy is to go to school and to get longer letter words instead of looking for short words, as it gives way more points. Knockout, same with shuffleboard, very luck based, and it's just knowing your friend and knowing what they would do. And remember that dodging is an option. And don't overshoot, or do, because it's funny. Yeah, just playing mostly mind games. Paintball. This is just advanced rock, paper, scissors. So play mind games like don't switch places after you got hit the first time. Then the second time, do switch. Or just play randomly and hope that you win. It's purely luck-based game. And statistically in rock, paper, scissors, you also play better when you play blind. So if you can play blind by picking random spot and don't know if you win or lost, you might actually have a better chance of winning. So checkers. I don't understand checkers very well, so feel free to comment down below what you should do, but what I've heard is that you want to keep the back row as long as possible, so you prevent the enemy from kinging. Kinging? I don't know, chess you have queening and this you have kinging, so they can't hop backwards. So yeah, you just want to prevent that, and play for specifically one side if you can, and try to block the enemy from taking your pieces. Which makes a lot of sense and doesn't help much, but just learn checkers. Mancala. I've literally never played in this game in my life. And yeah, so playing Mancala is just knowing the rules, because I think most people wouldn't know the rules for this game. Is that one, you get extra moves when your stone picked up, because you know you have all these stones. You click one of them and then you move them. And at the end, if the last one ends up in your pile or shop, you get to go again for free. And if you land in an empty spot on your board, then you get to capture your opponents and the one that ended up on that square. So you also want to do that as much as possible. So Gomoku, or just connect 5. Just get good. Just get good. Reversey. You want to play for the corners, and if you get a corner, you get it forever, and the enemy cannot flip it. Try to get the sides as well, and sometimes giving up a row for a corner is sometimes good. 20 questions. So first, you want to establish what kind of things you can pick. If not, picking something way too niche that they wouldn't know what it is, like Warhammer 40k figurines, like a specific number or something, or like a specific Lego box with a serial number, or a specific time like 2001 5:46 AM PDT or something. And if you want to play more fair, establish the rules on what to pick with a topic like food, people you know, presidents, something like that. And also, when you play 20 questions, no one really wins. It's either a frustrating game or it was just way too easy. You can do a double elimination question, so you can narrow it down faster by asking, is it an animal or a food? If yes, you can then pick between the two. If not, choose two other things. For chess, just be Magnus Carlsen, or use a chess engine to play the best moves. I'm also really glad that they kept en passant. Mini golf is just a skill issue. Nothing much you can do about it. And try not to hit the bouncy thing if you can help it. Crazy 8 is more than 2 players. We're not going to cover it. It's literally just Uno. Tanks. Tanks. So lastly, we have dots and boxes. There is actually a surefire way to win dots and boxes. In this game, it is actually better to go second on a normal 4x4 board. Same with the 6x6 board. And the first player gets advantage on the 5x5 board. The reason? Chains. The way you visualize and play this game is by chains. Each player wants to make different sets of chains. What are chains? Something that includes more than 2 boxes connected. When one player is forced to draw on it, the other player gets all of them. The first player wants an even number of long chains. The second player wants an odd number of long chains. As the first player, you want to make a chain by playing on one of the tiles like this and pray that the second player doesn't block, and make a chain. The second player's job is much easier. Block the first player in a windmill fashion or perhaps a similar symbol. If they're not trying to make chains, just do whatever. If you don't play like a dumbass, you will win. If you want to have an in-depth explanation for some of these strategies, I linked a few of the videos I got the ideas from. They might explain it better than I do. I'm Wei, and I'll see you another day.